Hi, I'm George, one of the support accountants here at FreeAgent. Welcome to today's webinar, which is all about how to get started and switch your bookkeeping to FreeAgent if you're an unincorporated UK landlord. Any new piece of kit can feel a bit daunting to use at first, but we've designed FreeAgent to make it as easy as possible to use for everyone, whether or not you're already used to a bookkeeping software package. The start of a new tax year, accounting year, or VAT period are all ideal times to start using or to switch over. And if you switch to FreeAgent at the start of a new accounting year, you may only need to input a few summary figures like your bank balance and how much your business owned and owed at the end of the previous accounting year. We'll show you how to easily and quickly bring your year-to-date information into FreeAgent in order to keep track of your finances in real time. FreeAgent has different account types which are designed to meet the needs of different types of businesses, such as limited companies, sole traders, and unincorporated landlords. This includes anybody who's subject to changes to Making Tax Digital for Income Tax, or MTD for short. You'll be able to quickly and easily submit your quarterly updates to HMRC, as well as the final declaration at the end of the year. This webinar is all about unincorporated landlords. If you earn income from a UK property in your own name, not via a limited company, then you'd select the unincorporated landlord option for the business type when setting up your FreeAgent account. Choosing the correct account type will make sure that you've got all the necessary features, such as adding properties, and your tax returns or MTD submissions will be handled correctly. Let's start by going through some key information that should be set up before using the account. In FreeAgent, all the reports and calculations are driven by the dates of the transactions you're going to enter. So you need to make sure your business's accounting dates are set up correctly. To check these, navigate to your business name at the top right of the screen and select Settings from the drop-down menu. And under Accounting Tax and VAT, you'll find Accounting Dates. Having the right dates will help keep your account accurate, and if you put in the wrong dates, you could even end up paying too much tax. If you're at all unsure about what dates to enter, then we have a really handy article on accounting dates in FreeAgent in our knowledge base. This can be accessed at the bottom of any page of your FreeAgent account. But to summarise, the company start date is the date on which your business first came into being. Don't worry that it says company. For landlords, this date is normally the date on which you've told HMRC you started earning income from the property. The first accounting year end date should be the first accounting year end that you ever had, not the end of the first accounting year that you'll be creating in FreeAgent. For landlords, this is usually the 31st of March or the 5th of April to coincide with the end of the tax year. The FreeAgent start date is the date from which you're going to start doing your bookkeeping in FreeAgent. This can be a historic date, but it's easiest to start your books from the beginning of a new tax year to avoid having to add together two sets of figures when you come to do your accounts and tax return. Please don't enter any transactions dated before your FreeAgent start date, as this can cause errors in your account. Another option you'll see when setting up your FreeAgent account is to select whether you're using the traditional accruals or cash accounting basis. To check the accounting basis set up on your FreeAgent account, navigate to your company name, then Settings, and select Accounting Basis. Or you can switch directly to that page using the drop-down menu in the top left. The accounting basis is the method used for generating your accounting reports and therefore your self-assessment tax return. When using the traditional or accruals accounting basis, your income and costs will be recorded on the dates of your invoices and bills, meaning that they are recognised regardless of when the income was received or the cost was paid. When using the cash accounting basis, your income and costs will be recorded on the dates of the transactions instead, meaning that they're only recognised once the money has exchanged hands. You can change the basis of accounting method you're using if this was set up incorrectly. There are some instances where the accounting basis cannot be changed, but if you're unsure which accounting method you should be using, please double check with your accountant who'll be able to confirm this for you. Now let's have a look at how you can reflect historic accounting balances in your FreeAgent account if needed, as they may need to be added in unless you've decided to recreate all of your business's bookkeeping in FreeAgent from the day you started trading. To do this, you'd enter what are known as opening balances, which you can include by navigating to Accounting, Journal Entries, and then choose Opening Balances from the drop-down. Opening balances could include figures such as your bank account balances, assets you own, and money owed to you by tenants, or by you to suppliers, as at your free agent start date. This will ensure FreeAgent knows the figures in your accounting reports that would be carried over into the next accounting period so that the system can just pick up from where you left off. There are some specific accounting categories you would need to use for certain balances depending on the accounting basis that you're on, i.e. cash or accruals basis. Our knowledge base has some detailed guidance on this to try and help keep you right, which you can access from the bottom of the page. If you've been using other bookkeeping software, the best way to collect all of your opening balances together is to print from your old software a copy of a trial balance. Or, if you're starting to use FreeAgent from the beginning of a new accounting year, you could alternatively use a report called a balance sheet. The report should usually be dated the day before your FreeAgent start date. If you came to FreeAgent from a spreadsheet and don't have access to these reports, your accountant should be able to help you collect these figures. Here in my account, you can see the opening bank balances are already there. There's also an opening balance in my suspense account. This is because FreeAgent knows how much I have in my bank account, but it doesn't yet know what my other opening balances were, so it's had to put in a balancing figure for now. If you don't have an accountant and you've managed to work out some, but not all, of your opening balances, then we would suggest that you can put any difference you can't work out to account 968, because you and the business are legally the same, and so it's less important if the amount the business owes you changes. I'll click Edit Opening Balances, and that gives me the chance to enter the rest of my opening balances. If your business is registered for VAT, please make sure you've entered your opening balances for the VAT categories correctly before you file a VAT return through FreeAgent. We have more content in the knowledge base about how to make sure your VAT opening balances are correct, as well as fully detailed articles about entering the rest of your opening balances, including properties and any other assets or equipment you may own. Setting up your opening balances is a one-off task you'll be glad to hear, so once you've completed that, you won't have to do it again. Now let's take a look at where you can add users to your FreeAgent account. Navigate to the business name in the top right of the screen, then select Settings. The Users area is in the top section under My Company. From here, you can add different types of users to your FreeAgent account. If you own properties with someone else, you should add them as a user and make sure to select the role as owner. This will allow you to set up the property ownership share later on, and allow them to file their self-assessment tax returns to HMRC, and also file under the new MTD rules if needed. If you need to submit under HMRC's MTD for income tax rules, you'll need to enter your national insurance number on this page. And later, when you connect to HMRC, you'll be able to select your income stream that you're submitting information about, but we'll talk more about MTD shortly. You can even add your accountant as a user to the account so that they can access your data once they've set their password. You can enter details of the user here, along with their email address, and select their role, and if you tick this box, you'll be able to send them an invitation to allow them to set their own password and log into the account. Further down the page, you'll see a user permissions section. By sliding this gauge up and down, you can set how much of the FreeAgent account this new user can see. You can see details of the permissions at each level just below, listing what users can and can't see or do at that level. But you can also see details of this in the knowledge base article linked just below it. If you do want to add your accountant or bookkeeper as a new user, please check with them to see if they already work with FreeAgent, as they may wish to access your account in a different way. Some accountants have FreeAgent practice dashboards through which they can access the FreeAgent accounts of their clients, and these accountants wouldn't need to be added as a user. Once you're happy, you can click on Create New User and send an invitation down at the bottom of the screen. The new user will then receive their invitation to the email address entered in the user profile. As you can see, it's a very quick and easy process to add new users to your FreeAgent account. Now we've set up our users, let's move on to the main part of a landlord account, which is the properties. This is always available in the top menu here, Property. On this page, we've got an overview of the overall property profitability for all properties, and a list of all the properties below. We get a quick view of the current year-to-date profit for each property, and you can drill into each one of these to see it in more detail too. By clicking into one of these properties, you can see a summary of the profit and loss for this individual property. And we can further drill into the income and expenses for this property by switching between the tabs at the top of the page here. Seeing the performance of each property in detail like this allows you to see how the different properties are performing over time and compared to each other, allowing you to make better business decisions. When you're looking at the Summary tab, as we are now, you can use the button in the top right to quickly add new invoices, bills, or out-of-pocket expenses for this property. Back on the main property page, here we can add new properties from this page by clicking Add New and filling out some basic information. Please note that this won't create a new asset in your accounting records. That would be done when you handle the transactions related to the purchase, and there's more detail about that in our knowledge base. Back on the main property page, in the top right, there's a button to edit the property settings. By clicking this, we can view and change the ownership arrangements for your properties. For example, if you split the ownership of your properties 50-50 with a partner, you can set this up here so long as you've already added that owner as a user. You can split the ownership however you want, so long as the overall ownership for a property adds up to 100%. Each property can have its own ownership split, or you can set up a default for the whole of your properties. It's up to you. Getting these settings right is important as it will shape how the figures in your FreeAgent account are used for each person's submissions to HMRC. For example, if the properties are split 50-50, only 50% of the income and expenditure will be reported in each of the owner's tax submissions. Now let's start taking a look at the FreeAgent account in more detail, starting on the overview screen. These handy widgets show you, at a glance, different areas of your FreeAgent account, such as estimates, invoices, projects, time slips, bank balances, out-of-pocket expenses, and bills. You can view your business's income and day-to-day running costs using the real-time profit and loss widget. Your tax timeline shows you upcoming dates for income tax, MTD, VAT, if you're registered for VAT, and how much you need to pay HMRC. You can even sync this with your Google, Outlook, or iCal calendar. There's also a feature in FreeAgent called Radar, which can be found by clicking into the small bell on the top right. Here you'll see an admin to-do list, which is a checklist that highlights outstanding admin tasks to be completed, and a feed showing tailored insights about the performance of the business and updates to introduce any new features in FreeAgent. I'll now show you the different sections of FreeAgent which populate the overview screen. You may already have details of tenants or suppliers and letting agents, and you don't have to type these into FreeAgent manually. You can add them by importing them if you prefer. In FreeAgent, all of your suppliers and tenant details are held in the same area together, under Contacts. To do this, go to Contacts, click Import Contacts, and follow the steps. Again, there's more information in our knowledge base about this, and you can also import contacts from a CSV file. The knowledge base will also guide you here and give you the layout that you need to follow. When you have more data in your FreeAgent account, you'll see a list of your contacts and a quick view of how much is currently owed to help keep track of business finances. Let's look at the banking section by navigating to Banking, Bank Accounts. In this bank account summary, you'll see your money at a glance along with a list of your accounts that you may have set up. You're able to create as many bank accounts in FreeAgent as your business has in real life. It's good practice to keep a separate bank account just for your business, but if you use a personal bank account for your business transactions, you can connect this to FreeAgent, allowing you to only explain the transactions that are related to the business. Any personal transactions can simply be ignored. You've also got the option of credit card and PayPal accounts too. Your FreeAgent bank account should be used to mirror your actual business bank accounts in order to keep your data as accurate as possible. You can add transactions manually, upload them through electronic statements, or, our favourite option, you can set up a bank feed. Bank feeds provide a secure and reliable connection between your FreeAgent account and your bank. Instead of downloading and uploading electronic statements, once a bank feed has been enabled, your bank transactions will be pulled into FreeAgent automatically through the bank feed. Some bank feeds will also show you if there's a balance mismatch between your bank and FreeAgent, making it much easier to keep your bank reconciled. We even go one step further in FreeAgent with a feature called Guess, which makes suggestions of payment allocations, allowing for the ease of simply hitting a button to approve and explain those transactions. If you've saved receipts to the files area of your account using our Smart Capture function, Guest will even automatically assign the receipts to the transactions marked for approval. FreeAgent's Smart Capture feature allows you to take a photo of receipts or bills that you want to capture in FreeAgent for your record-keeping purposes. These can be assigned to bank transactions, converted into out-of-pocket expenses, or bills with just a few clicks. Smart Capture can be accessed through the desktop or on our mobile app, which is designed to be a companion app to work alongside the desktop version, allowing for quick and easy access to your FreeAgent account whilst you're out and about. Regardless of how you add your transactions to FreeAgent, explaining bank transactions is a simple process that we can just go through now. You can explain certain items in bulk like this, or select a full page if you need to. The type and category options then show in the panel here on the right. You can also explain transactions individually. Let me show you an example of explaining a bank transaction. Once you've selected a transaction to explain, FreeAgent will ask you to provide some information about it. You'll need to select the payment type, category, and the appropriate rate of VAT if it's a purchase. You can just leave the VAT as auto if you're not VAT registered. You also need to select the property that this transaction relates to. This is so that FreeAgent can accurately split the income and expenses for each owner. If you're unsure which category to use, click on our knowledge base link and we'll try to point you in the right direction. Once you explain your transactions, these will populate your reports and tax submissions in FreeAgent, which I'll go into a bit later on in the webinar. Explaining your bank transactions and making sure your FreeAgent bank account mirrors your actual bank account and reconciles is an essential part of keeping your accounts up to date. Now we'll move on to how to record your income, which can be done in two ways. The first way is to create an invoice. You can do this by going to the Work tab, then Invoicing, and you can see one that I've created earlier. To create a new invoice, click on the green Add New Invoice button. First, we'll input the general invoice details, where you choose the contact and property, set your invoice reference, select the date using the date picker, and the currency. We'll leave this as £sterling, but you do have the option to invoice in a number of different currencies. You also have more optional features down here, but I'd recommend having a look at our knowledge base to see what additional options are available in this section. First, we'll input the general invoice details and then click Create New Invoice. FreeAgent has now generated a blank invoice for us and we can add invoice items by pressing the green Add Invoice Item button. If there are items that you use often, you can add them as a price list item and then choose it from there. Alternatively, you can manually enter the quantity, price and description as I've done, then click Create and Finish. Once you're happy with the invoice, you have the option to mark it as sent. This will tell FreeAgent that you've sent the invoice to your customer and it's ready to be matched up to a bank receipt. Alternatively, you can email the invoice directly to your tenant using FreeAgent by clicking the Send by Email button. Once your invoices are logged on FreeAgent, you'd navigate back to the bank, like so, and explain that cash incoming to the bank account as invoice receipt. I'm going to match up the money in transaction here, explain it as type invoice receipt, and allocate it against the invoice. The invoice will then show as paid under Work, Invoicing, showing this customer has no outstanding balance to pay. If you only received part payment for the invoice, it will show as the remaining balance is still due by the due date of the invoice. Alternatively, if you don't need or want to create invoices, you can instead explain the cash coming into the bank account as rental income. I'm just going to select this one transaction and select the type to rental income, select the property it relates to, and explain the transaction. You can bulk explain these transactions by clicking the checkboxes to the left and explaining all the selected transactions. If you use a letting agent and receive money into your bank account after fees or charges have been deducted, then you can easily account for these to make sure that the correct income and costs are recorded. If we click on one of the money in transactions here, we can see how this is done. If this transaction is what I've received from the letting agent after they've deducted fees, then we just click on the Adjustments button, then Add Fees or Commissions. On the next page, we can type in the fees that have been deducted, select a category and property, then type in a short description, then click Save and Finish. You'll see that FreeAgent has adjusted the original transaction to allow you to record the full amount as your rental income or as an invoice receipt if you use invoices. Next, let's talk about recording the business expenditure. One way to do this is by creating bills. These are costs that your business has incurred that aren't going to be paid for straight away. For example, when a supplier provides payment terms of 30 days. You would enter an invoice you receive from a supplier in the Bills section of FreeAgent. You can do this one by one, or use Smart Capture to store images of the bills in the Files area and use the images to create a new bill. Anything that you pay for personally would be an out-of-pocket expense and should not be entered as a bill. Or, alternatively, if you don't have a bill to match the payment to, you can explain the transaction in the bank as type payment and choose the category from the drop-down instead of creating a bill. You can create additional categories if you need under Settings and Accounting Categories. Next, we'll move on to the Expenses tab. An out-of-pocket expense is a business cost that you or another user pay for with personal money and that your business can then reimburse the user for. You can create new expenses and mileage straight from this section by selecting Add New and selecting either of the two options. You can also use the Smart Capture feature to convert stored images into out-of-pocket expenses with just a few clicks. Now that we've taken a look at getting transactions into your FreeAgent account, let's see how all that information goes into quickly and easily preparing your tax submissions. With FreeAgent, you can easily file to HMRC. Let's click on the Taxes tab in the top menu and then Income Tax. If you need to make quarterly submissions to HMRC for Making Tax Digital, you'll just need to connect FreeAgent to HMRC by navigating to your business name in the top right, then Connections and Add-ons, and then following the prompts to connect. From this page, we can select which of the owners we want to view using the drop-down menu and then view their tax submissions. You can see the deadlines for filing and the total tax due. You'll see here at the bottom of the list there's a submission called MTD for income tax. If we select this, we can view the MTD submission page. Under MTD for income tax, you must send HMRC total figures for your property income and expenditure every quarter. FreeAgent pulls all these figures together based on the transactions in your account and the property ownership share that we set up earlier. Instead of filling out these figures manually, you'd only need to enter your day-to-day bookkeeping and let FreeAgent do the rest. You can configure the settings by clicking Edit Details in the top right, for example if you need to submit full or consolidated expenses, or if you need to choose between calendar or tax year quarters. Back on the main page, once you've reviewed the figures on this page, you can submit to HMRC by clicking on the green button which will appear in the top right, Send Update, and then you're done for the quarter. Don't worry if you notice any mistakes throughout the year and need to make a correction. For example, if you used the wrong categories for some bank transactions, or found some expense receipts after you've already submitted the quarterly update for that period. You don't need to unlock the accounts or unfile your submissions. All you need to do is enter those expenses as you normally would, or edit the category for the bank transaction. And then, when you send your next quarterly update, FreeAgent will send the new updated figures for the year, taking your corrections into account. You can learn more about how FreeAgent supports MTD for income tax by clicking the link to our knowledge base. If you don't need to file to HMRC under the new MTD rules, you'll still be able to complete your traditional style self-assessment tax returns from this page. FreeAgent will populate the UK property page of the tax return based on the transactions in your account and the ownership share that we set up earlier. Once you've completed all the relevant pages, you can file it online with HMRC. If you're VAT registered, you'll also see the option in the Taxes tab called VAT. We support annual, monthly and quarterly VAT returns for both invoice and cash accounting and the flat rate scheme. The return will update in real time, so you can keep an eye on how much you may owe to HMRC at the end of the VAT period. All you have to do is to follow the steps to connect the FreeAgent account to HMRC for Making Tax Digital for VAT. Then, when your transactions have been explained and you've checked the full report, you just select File Online with HMRC, which will appear in the top right hand corner, and it's going to appear once you're connected to HMRC and the VAT period has ended. Check out our website for more information on MTD for income tax, self-assessment, and VAT. Next, onto the Accounting tab, where you can find the Reports section, providing you with a collection of essential reports on your company as generated by the real-time data in your FreeAgent account. Some commonly used reports are the Profit and Loss report, which is a summary of your business's trading during a given period of time, along with a comparative view so that you can compare how your business is performing across different periods. The Customer Sales report, this breaks down the income that you've received from your customers, or in this case, tenants. The Spending Categories report, which shows you where you're spending your money, including your categorized bills, expenses, and bank transactions. The Show Transactions area displays all of your transactions in different accounting categories in FreeAgent. This list can be known as the Nominal Ledger or General Ledger. You can view a report for each account in your FreeAgent account and use the filters at the top to show each of these accounts per property if you like. We also have more detailed reports in FreeAgent, including management reports, which includes an executive summary, profit and loss, balance sheet, age debtors and age creditors report. This reporting area allows you to understand your data quickly and in a way that suits you. By understanding your data, it allows you to make more informed financial decisions for your business. This is only some of the list, but all of these reports are at your fingertips. What I've covered in this webinar is only a brief overview of some of the powerful tools that FreeAgent can offer you to run your business with ease and confidence. Now onto the resources that will help you on your FreeAgent journey. If you run into any issues or have any specific questions about your data in FreeAgent, just click the Help button in the bottom right corner, and Ruby the robot will either suggest some answers from our knowledge base or pass you on to our support team. You'll be given the option to get in touch with our support team either by live chat if it's during office hours or to leave a message. We offer live chat 9 to 5 Monday to Thursday and 9 to 4 on a Friday. In those same hours, you can also phone our support team directly or get in touch via email. You can find our phone number and email address listed on the Contact Us page of our website. You may be asked for a support code when contacting us. This code is used as a security step when contacting our support accountants and allows us to access your account. This can be found by navigating to your company name and selecting Settings from the drop-down. Support access is located in the My Company section. Select Yes to the Allow Support Access option and save changes. You'll then see a unique 8-digit support code on the right. The other way to access this generated code, no matter what screen you're on, you can scroll to the bottom of the page and select Support Access. Another fantastic resource that we've mentioned during this webinar is our knowledge base, which is full of visual step-by-step guides and easy to follow videos. You can always find the link at the bottom of the page. You can type your problem into the search bar or browse by section. I hope this webinar has given you the confidence to start or continue using FreeAgent. Thanks for listening.